Hi, welcome back to Future Fast. And once again, we have a very interesting guest. And some of you may be already familiar with him because he's quite active and popular as well. At least I got him as a reference from someone who's a good friend and who's also been in Future Fast in the past from Delhi. So, what I gather is that people around Delhi must be familiar with him, but also he has quite a bit of following across India as well. So, for those of you who are not familiar, we are going to get started with Anuj Kumar Bhatia. Uh, we'll start with his journey, and so you get down to discovering him because there are two parts to his role, even present. But of course, there is something more that he is doing, and that is what we will hear. And Anuj, once again, thank you so much for agreeing to be part of Future Fast and making time to be here with us today.
Thank you so much, Nanjinda. Uh, firstly, I want to really sincerely thank you for feeling that I can be part of your journey where you have called me. Coming about myself, so let me share a bit about myself, who I
Please.
am and what I have been doing.
Yeah.
So, so I am a guy who, when the people say that from where you belong to, I always say India. Reason being, I have a very, very diverse journey. I'm born and brought up in West Bengal, Durgapur. My father was the steel authorities, and thus I spent my 16 long years in Bengal. Followed from there, and then it was like till 12th. I was a PCB guy, physics, chemistry, biology, but I felt no somewhere, this world also needs people like me who are more trying to understand more of other people, your own thought process, and that is how I ventured into literature, and I did my English honors with sociology and advertising and public relations from BHU, if you know Varanasi, Banaras Hindu University. And then from there, I went to a very different course of journey, and I have done rural management. On those days, they used to call it as rural development from XISS, Xavier's Institute of Social Services in Ranchi, then called Bihar, now Jharkhand. So hopefully a lot of people know about that institute, and they give you a degree in rural management. So my journey has been like, diverse in thought process, in locations, and even in the streams which I did. So I did PCB, and so, it has been like I have been trying to introspect and see that what really I feel that this is something which is very close to my heart, and I true to that go for that. Sometimes I even didn't go because rural management was an accidental, like I was preparing for MIBA, but I went into rural management. And how it happened that I gave an exam because some of my friends were giving, but then the change real happened that when I went to rural camps, because this institute sends you every 6 months to rural camps in a remote village, and I was a city guy completely, so I had no exposure to the village. So my interest to join this course at that point of time was to see how a village is.
Well,
That's what.
Anuj, I was just curious. Can I pull you back to your BHU days?
Mm.
Uh, uh, See, I happened to visit Varanasi for the first time last year, and uh, it's for me it was a crazy experience because what I was looking up on internet, it's a small district, right? And it is one of the places, small cities. One, it is supposed to be the oldest living city, right? Uh,
Varanasi, you meant, right?
yeah, Varanasi. And then obviously there are different stories about names, Banaras, Varanasi, Kashi, and all that. But another thing is that I was checking, I forgot, I think in a given year, any given year, the average number of people who visit that city is nearly 3 to 4 times the city population.
Right.
So,
That's
which is crazy in itself, right? I mean, and it's a small city, it's not like a big city, also. So, what was it like for you to study? Because people actually go to Varanasi for an experience, and you spent how many years there studying? 3, 4 years,
3 years, 3 years,
3 years.
3 years,
And
1990
what?
to 1993.
So, what was your experience of Varanasi? What do you carry the Varanasi in you? How do you carry? How does Varanasi or Banaras is in you as a student from there then?
So, in one word, Varanasi made me what I am today. That is what it is. Reason being, I came from a very small town called Durgapur in West Bengal, and it is very service-oriented families. People, the kids are very pampered. This time you should get up. This time you should sleep. A very, very structured and stereotyped life. When I reached Varanasi, the reason was that firstly, I'm not going to my personal. My dad wanted me to become a doctor after PCB, but I felt no, I should go into because I used to like speaking to people, listening to the people, their journeys, their pains, and that is how I went to Varanasi because I got through in arts and I felt this is the right place which I should do. Second thing is that Durgapur was a town where I knew that 8 o'clock means this and 10 o'clock means this and 7 o'clock in the morning means this. But Varanasi changed that definition for me completely because there were its own struggles and there were its own, as a student, I had a lot of struggles there. Reason being to get a hostel room in Varanasi in BHU, within BHU was really difficult and you were an arts guy. So arts guy is usually arts guys are called as that they are very good at politics. So there is a segregation. Science guys are into something else. But I didn't want to go into politics. I said no. And I thus stayed in a science hostel after requesting. And I spent my nights in Varanasi station when I didn't had a room. So it was an amazing journey where I learned that, people say slang is bad, but that was the first exposure I got there. Then people said Varanasi is really a town where people just bankrupt you. They are, वो कहते हैं ना ठगों का शहर है बनारस. But I felt the best people, the most warm people are in Varanasi, provided you are as honest to yourself to others. So that is where that town made me that
Can
Anuj.
you can you can you give an example? What do you mean by that? You are as honest to others if you don't want to
So,
be.
this town has a very, very diverse thing, and especially BHU as a university, if you know, uh, it's a huge campus, humongous campus. You cannot move around in one day. It is like 40 hostels on one side, almost 30 faculties, colleges on one side. So the entire campus people go to visit. They take 2 days to visit that, and
So it's like a township by itself.
it's a township in itself. It's houses. The professors are
And it's
living.
very old as well, right? BHU is
It's the
quite old.
oldest. It was like, Madan Mohan Malviya.
Right, right.
He was the person. The story goes like this, and means, as people say, I've not been a very avid reader, but he was asked, he was rewarded, and he said, whatever you can run around by the Britishers, that area would be given for this university. And he kept on running, and that is how this area got. So when you go to BHU, the first statue is Madan Mohan Malviya, and then the gate comes, and then you go inside. But what I was trying to say that here, whatever you want to become in this university, you can become. You want to become a good politician? Okay. You want to become a good technocrat? Yes, it has IT, BHU, You
Right.
want to become the medical guy? The best medical college is within the BHU.
Oh, is it?
What you want to do, you take your choice and you get perfect environment for that. So, if you want to get into it, so this is what I was trying to say, that initially I was completely lost. People talking you, there is casteism also and there is no casteism also. There is so much gender discrimination also and there is no gender discrimination. You have to figure out how they, so I cannot, means I would not like to say over a podcast, but there is a very sweet language. They use slang, and with the slang tone, you will know that what is the mood of the talk. So, or yaar aise karke hans ke bolenge, that is the slang. So you are good. And what is this? That the same slang becomes. So this was a new learning from me because I did not know like this kind of. So that is one. Second, I went with some money in my pocket trying to get this room. I spent all. Somebody taking some food. Dada, you give me this. But then I was completely out and I said, it's finished. What to do? I cannot go home. But there were people who said, don't worry, Anuj, even if this is finished, we are there, we are with you. And that is how I secured my first small room, room number 144. I still remember I stayed there for 3 long years. And this is the cheapest university. At that time, I was paying 180 rupees for a year. And you had everything except the mess charges. And for me, the second learning was that I found that my financials were not very strong. My dad couldn't manage that. So I was a guy who was studying from the morning hours, the honors classes till 1 o'clock. And my own teachers were so supportive from 1 till night 10, I was doing a job. and that shop is still there. They may not remember. If you go to Banaras, there is a place called Anjuta Durga Kund. In front of that, there is an artist gallery. So I was, because my subject was public relations, salesmanship. So I was a salesman there, earning 800 rupees. So this is how I can say that this is how that town made me. So first time I was into a job, I learned that with a broken cycle of 350 rupees, I used to go and come back. So it was a experience in itself, and I think that was the place where I became Anuj, what I means communication. So how it helped communication, adaptable, sharing, everything I learned there. Because when you are at home and you were in that family, you didn't know what is sharing. Everything is yours. There you didn't have a room, small room, two people in one bed sharing the place. Somebody is accommodating you, so you are so grateful even for that much space. So these are the learnings which came from daily life. So this is, and then people helped you all 3 years you worked with them, everyone was supportive. So there I understood what is caste, what is class. I didn't understand earlier, but that is how it has. But everything has a plus and a minus. You get a choice, you make a choice in BHU. That's what I can say. So it's a
You know
great
what?
place.
This got my. I'm just trying to understand this part that you spend 180 rupees for the whole year to get educated, and you spend 350 rupees for a used cycle, and you earn 800 rupees working part time, all in the same city.
All in the same city. And then meeting out of that 800, my thing was I am a vegetarian. So I had to go to there are different mess. So one of the mess is in IT college area, IT hostel area. So it was almost 1.5 kilometers from my place. With that broken cycle, I used to pay 400 rupees and used to get a vegetarian food there. So, it was a place where you got exposure to different kind of people, and you learned how to manage everyone without making anybody annoyed, and how you adapt to different things. There are election campaigns where BJP is saying you come to my group, because I was a guy who was a Punjabi, a rare combination. By caste I
From
was
Bengal.
Rajput, and I knew Bengali, so I had a lot of Bengali crowd following me, right? So I was offered a position by ABVP also, and by SFI also.
Leftist. Okay, Communist Party.
But I said, yeah, I said, sorry, I'm not into this. So these are the kind of lucrative choices you may get, but you have to understand what you want to do. So those are the things which I learned, that how to control yourself and manage, and nobody should get upset also. So this is what I learned, and this is a major thing where in management lessons, this is very important, how to keep the balance with different stakeholders, and you keep working. This I realize now that I learned there. So these are the things. so,
Right.
so
Well,
anyway,
thanks. And just one other thing. So, we will discuss more about your present in terms of what you're into. But was there any angle of spirituality? Because that is another thing which this city is known for, right? So,
so
was that something that was that influenced you subtly, which led you to what you're doing presently? Was there any angle of that? I was just curious, was it coming from there?
So what I was saying, that yes, the answer is certainly from there, but more beyond that, I think I come from a family where my dad was quite into a lot of Lord Krishna and all that, and so I am not a guy who knows too much about religion, and I don't believe also much. I believe in something called humanity, and I believe if you are able to do good to anyone, and a plus to that, if you are not able to do good but you don't do bad to anyone, is what I consider is the way of living I believe in. So my spirituality definitely came from my family also, but yes, Banaras definitely shaped it. And to share that, there were many evenings when I was struggling with my life. I used to go to the ghat, Ganga Ghat, Dasha Ghat. I used to sit there, and I had one or two good friends also, and I don't know what was there in that air, that we used to find we say ho jayega, it will happen after 3 hours of sitting talking, where neither you have a solution for me, you have your own bag of problems and I have my own bag of problems, and both are in the same boat, but still we say, oh, it can be done. And that is where we used to speak to some of the saints who were there, talk to them, and definitely I would say it had a very, very subtle space in my mind that, you can live happily, and happiness doesn't have a direct relation to materialism. And that is actually took me to the Xavier's journey, where I did rural management, just to share, take it further, where I felt I was very, every young guy has a dream that I should be doing this, I should be doing this. So I was preparing for Master of International Business Administration, and suddenly landing in rural management. So I had a thought process, not that clear, that maybe God wants this, universe needs this, and that is. And when I went to the villages as I was coming, the change happened there, where when you stayed in those remote villages, people were so grateful, thankful to you, blessing you. You are that son of a mother who is coming to help us. You are great. And that was Khuti block, Bhandara block, Khuti village, something, some internal place. And I think the BHU thought process was already there, and this also helped me to shape. And I felt, wow, you get salary also, you get blessings also. Why not to do this work? And that is how I landed in rural journey, or in my management journey, which I have been doing in last 2 decades. So that's about my study. Coming to from there, I did my project management specialization with rural management, 2 years MBA kind of thing. And I got through with a project in government in Lucknow. That was my first. I will not go into the job details, but I started my journey from a block level. I worked at the block level, and the best part was about my social part was that I had two choices in first 5 years. One was, do you want to work with different areas, like working with stakeholders, working with partners, trying to understand them, bringing them together? And I felt that was one area. Second was, you become a sectoral expert, you become a EV expert, or you become a energy expert or a health expert. So I chose the first path, Nanjunde. It has two reasons. One, I felt I feel good with people, listening, speaking, observing. So this is also a taste which a person, as I would give this message for all the students, that you should try to understand what's your real taste, because some people really like numbers. I always liked process. I didn't like numbers. I always liked process, understanding, and my belief is process is wrong. Process is right. Output would be right. Outcome would be right. But these days, a lot of time people say outcome has to be right, and then we'll see how the process goes. So there are and nothing is wrong. Everything is right. But this is my thought process. So that is how I started from a block level, and I have worked across sectors and levels, like health, renewables I did with GIZ, health I did with CARE and USAID. Then I did with a lot of agriculture programs with corporates as well as with some NGOs. So my journey has spread across 5 countries, 5 or 6, India being one. I have worked in West African countries to include Nigeria, then Ivory Coast, and then Ghana, Benin, Republic of Niger. And I have worked with diverse kind of organizations to include international NGOs, bilaterals like GIZ. Then I worked with the UN, IOM, UNSCR, UN agencies. I have headed UN agencies in India. And then I have also worked with corporates, where I work with the CSR, corporate social responsibility, and ESG space. So that's in brief about me.
Yeah.
If you want to know
Just
about,
yeah,
yeah,
I just want to ask your work across different countries in Africa. How was it? Because lately, there is a new conversation about global South, right?
about
Uh,
global.
South,
Hmm.
and of course, Prime Minister Modi is positioning India as a leading the global South priorities. And I also hear many people in Africa talk about global South now, because that conversation was not really there as a global South, right? There were conversations about India, there were conversations about Nigeria, and of course there were some attempts for quite some time, at least maybe 40, 50 years, that one Africa, and it kind of peaked and dropped and all that. But during your work and stay and interactions, how was Africa? What is the perception that you carry of Africa and Africans?
So, very nice question, Yuda. My work has been very different, like very big way in Nigeria compared to bit less in Ivory Coast, and then others has been lesser and lesser, right? I have worked,
Mm.
but different. So my impressions may come from the Nigerian market more. That is what I would like to share. And thus, Africa, when people say Africa, many of the people, none, when I've spoken to people, they say Africa, oh, you are from, you went to South Africa. So people don't know what Africa is. So
Yeah, yeah,
Africa is,
it's the
it's
world's
a,
largest
uh,
continent, right?
and people consider that South Africa is Africa. So I told them, no, I am from West Africa. I worked more in West Africa. And even for myself, this understanding came when I went to Africa. Before that, I was also saying Africa means South Africa. That's the kind of thing comes many of the times. But coming to the question, what I find is I would go one point which I understood market wise. As India is a huge market, you know why India could, I mean, there are different theories, and you are much more about knowing about these things. But at the same time, India could fight the global recession in 2009. Reason being, we had, am I audible?
Very much, very much.
Okay. So India had a huge population. So India's population is a blessing as well as a curse. Many of the time we see it as a curse, but it's a huge blessing. We could take that recessions easily and fight it out. Even now we are trying to fight it out. That's the current scenario. Reason being, we have, our economy is very micro wise distributed, so you don't get that jhatka so strongly. The same goes for Nigeria. So I call Nigeria as the India of West Africa, because if you want businesses to thrive, you need people who will buy, who will
Right.
sell. Until and unless buying and selling within the country doesn't happen, in very layman terms, I'm saying import and export is not going to work much. Yes, European countries are very different. There it works, but we come from a different thought process and the way we work. So that way, Nigeria is like a populated country, and
Mm.
I would say very similar on a lot of things like India, though we
Yeah,
have not
including
one,
Bollywood, right?
including ball. So first thing is how you are known in West Africa. You are known by the name of stars. So huge thank to Bollywood. Actually, how it happened was in 2004, 2004, way back, Nanjuda. I was working on an eye prayer program. I was managing a whole hospital in Africa where we were focusing on pterygium, cataract, glaucoma surgeries. And my hospital, so I had a doctor from Shankar Netrale. I'm not taking his name, but he was the doctor, and I was the program manager for the entire business or entire project. So when I went to Republic of Niger, it's a French country, and their borders are very fluid. So there was a rope he removed, and he asked, "Who are you?" in their language. So I had a translator. I said, "Tell them that I'm from India, but working in Nigeria." So as he told, and I was never expecting. He told that he's from India, and I had another doctor with me, so two people, and then few people. We were going for an outreach camp in that area. So that man took off his cap and said, "Mogambo khush hua." So that is where I was taken aback, because that was my first exposure to Africa, and then somebody who doesn't know English, and Hindi to dur ki baat hai, doesn't know English, no Indian languages, Hindi or Kannada or any other languages, and then he says, so I asked this guy, what is that? He did not know that what he is speaking. I said, what is that? So he said he is telling in French that he has seen that movie 62 times. 62
Wow.
times, and that is how the Bollywood introduces Indians to, definitely, to the West African markets. Definitely, I'm sure, because all the movies go very strong. One of the lady, another very light, on a lighter note, I'm sharing another lady in 2013. Again, I went to Africa and I was sitting in my office. She came in. She was a young girl. She said, "Can I speak to you?" I said, "What you are doing?" I said, I have been recruited here to start the CSR operations. How about you, ma'am?" So she said, "My name is this. I am an intern. I came from this." So she said, "I just came to say that you look like Akshay Kumar sometime." I said, "Ah, you know." Yeah. So, that's the kind of Bollywood. There are part of West Africa where people speak Hindi more fluently than Hindi people, and they have learned only through Indian movies. Grandmama, 60 years old, she will start speaking in Hindi to you, and you will be surprised. So these are the things which I'll say. Coming back to the subject, they are equally warm like Indians. That there are some similarities.
Mm.
That the religious divide is very strong here. They have a tribal divide. Religious divide is there also, because they are Christians and Muslims, and that challenge is always there within them. So, there are a lot of similarities. Fourth, mass, there are two parts: Muslims and Christians. Christians role model is US, UK. For Muslims, the role model is Dubai, UAE, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, that kind of thing. They look you as a role model. So if you are going this great, Nanjura, then my son may be also like you someday. That's the kind of, so that's a very good thing where India is given as this kind of level. And I think, coming to the business or bilateral or multilateral relations, definitely West Africa is a place where India should go for very good ties on a particular reason, because lot of products, lot of exports and imports, and lot of businesses are being handled by Indians. In West African market, it is usually the Sindhis and Punjabis. In Kenya and others, it's mostly the Gujaratis.
Exactly.
Indians are a major. And secondly, the business community should think bit more to really help these people out, so that they don't feel that
And
they are
also, these Indian communities are two, three generations in
two,
Africa,
three.
right?
Exactly. I was working with all those generation, all those Indians who had been like Tatas of that place, and they have been for three generations. So they are staying in London, but they are now coming, working, so their business is flourishing. So many of these big groups are Indians. So this is what about Africa. Few things which are challenging about Africa, which we should always keep in mind, because when they see this podcast, they should not feel he has given only the silver things. So one, you have to understand that as Indians, on the fun and enjoyment side, we go crazy when we get something cheap. We should not. That's the most risky thing, because rest, this I am showing, and rest all the things, we have to be very cautious, because one, we carry an image for a country. Secondly, it is also important for your own protection and security, because the depths and the kind of people. So there is a saying that now it has bit changed, but 99% of the people survive on 1% of the resource, and 1% of the people hold 99% of the resource in West Africa. So you think you are an Indian, they think you are a Britisher or a UK guy, as we see here, people, wow, from outside, huh? The white skin. So you are considered as a white skin there. So be at a caution that you should know what is your limits, because these countries have security issues, and we should take care of that. So in very short, security issues we should take care of, but rest, I don't think these are the places where one should definitely go, and especially in my sector, where I say I am serving people. You should serve people who are really needy. So I had a very, very almost 12 years in Africa. It has been a great journey in different countries. So in short, about this is my journey, what I have been doing on one side, and this is all.
Well, wonderful. Maybe before we conclude this part, can you tell what led you to move into the journey that you are in now? Before in the next part, we could dive deeper into it. So maybe you could just stitch that part from in whatever all the experience that you shared. What drove you to this side?
Okay, sure. Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. So, I have my journey when I started as a student in my life, as I grew up, my dream was that I should become like engineer, like my dad, right? As you see your dad. But he was coming from the black coal fields, always black. So I said, no, no, not this one. So it had no relation to studies. A child makes his own thought process through different environments. So then I said, let me become a doctor. So when I went to 12th and 11th and 12th, we were given a cockroach and a toad and a frog to, you must be the dessert, and then take. So my hands were shivering. I was doing this. So I used to cut the stomach. Before that, I cut something else. So I felt, oh, I can't cut people. This is very, very difficult. So somehow I feel pain. So I'll not do this. So that was clear. So what you will do? So no, not able to figure out. When I went to BHU, as I told, that place made me to understand that, Anuj, you are good on communication. People love to listen to you. You understand bit of, somewhere you find your touch with helping people, spirituality. This is what you get. And then by that time, because I was in Bengal, I was also reading out hero, as you know. So that was the college days, and I used to see hands. So that was where as boys and girls, always we used to joke, "Arey, tum to haath dekhta rehta hai." But I found something, yeah, I was trying to tell people, and then they used to come back say, "Anuj, ये तो अच्छा हुआ यार, ऐसा ही हुआ तू बोला था." So I said, something like that. So, but I was not very sure. Then came the rural management part. And there I was, by that time, again, I was figuring out that I will do some business management because, very less people, at least I don't know about students now, but in my time, at least a student like me who was an average guy, it was very difficult to figure out what you want to do exactly. And doing something is always there, and doing something with passion, matching your passion, is different. So I was trying to look for it. And when I was doing rural management, I could definitely find my purpose, that the skill sets which I have and the happiness which I get through is matching here. Reason being, when I was helping people and people were reciprocating to it. So the last point where I was just seeing palms, but here I was doing the rural sector work and they were blessing me. I was feeling very happy. And I think that was a blessing from the universe that I got, that I found that when I serve people, I feel a lot of happiness. I get a lot of satisfaction. I was very clear in those days. And that is how my this journey of 2 decades, which I shared with you before this, I have been serving people time and again, helping out in Africa, helping out. And when they come back, those women saying there is just I'm taking the last journey also, because there was a call from some lady of Africa on my phone number one day. And I took, so she said, I'm saying, I'm Hajia, this speaking from, she had gone for Hajj visit. From there, I'm calling you and I'm praying for your family. Oga, I'm praying from. So I was so happy. I said, oh my God, can you measure this in any number of dollars? It will not. And this gave me a lot of happiness. So some people get happiness through, as I told, through numbers, through tech. Some people get through money. I'm not saying money is not important for me, but bigger thing was that when people believe in you, people feel that you are one of them who helped, that gives me a lot of satisfaction. So that is the journey I was going through. By that time, I was also, as my interest, I was doing numerology, I was reading out. I'm not a certified, but I kept reading, I am kept helping people. And somehow, as I kept doing this, I felt that I'm serving the rural population and they're very happy. But someday I felt that there is so many things which you are going through. Doubt. Sometimes you get upset. Sometimes you get angry. And to whom to go? To whom to share? Who am I? These kind of questions were really pondering my mind. And then I came across, and I then went for one mentor I found. I did Reiki, if you know, one of the healing practice, because I wanted to heal myself. Because I said, and my belief is, whatever you want to do, first do it on yourself. Then you go. Because if you don't do it on yourself, it is not that you are not healed. I'm not speaking about healing. Anything you want to do, you should do it on yourself to understand what are the good and what are the bad. Practical is learning for me. I don't read through books. I do practical and learn. So I did it. I tried. I became a Reiki grandmaster. I tried it out. I found it is bit difficult for common person. Reason being, if you are trying to reach common person, so again the question happened, why you want to reach the common person? So my thought was that when I go through these kind of challenges, I can't go to anyone. There should be a place, somebody should be able to serve them, help them, because I am serving in my last subject also. I should be. So then slowly I came across a person by the name Mr. Mitesh Khatri. He's a very big name today in law of attraction. And I felt that this is what means, I believe in the voice of the universe, like I have connected with you and we are talking today. We have no, but it has to come. It comes, then you should follow up. If something is coming at your door and telling you, now you have to take it further, then you should be after that. That is the way I follow my journey. And I'll tell all the people who visit this podcast, see this, I would say, get your inner callings very clear, because callings come, everything comes to you beforehand and tells you, this is good, this is bad, use your time, waste your time, everything is clear. People still don't want to see that. But coming back, then I went and I did this course, which is a healing course from Mr. Mitesh Khatri. And I felt the common thread was that I was serving rural people. Here I am now serving a larger population, students who are in anxiety, professionals who have stress, people who have self-doubt, people who have some physical injury. So that is how the connection happened. And that is how I'm now coming to the new journey, which I'm doing, and I'll share it with you.
Sure. Wonderful, Anuj. Thank you so much. And to the audience and listeners, the link is there below this conversation. You can look him up, you can reach him, and also the link to uh, uh, in his name, there is a URL as well, so you can visit to know what he's doing. But come back to the conversation because the website will tell you stories, but you can hear the stories from him, and hopefully we'll get more than what is there in the website. So do come and join us, and please do share this conversation with all you think will appreciate and enjoy this. Once again, thank you so much. Until we meet again, enjoy the ride. Anuj, thank you so much for, like I said, sharing your journey, uh, uh, taking through each of the part, and even responding to my queries, uh, which perhaps was not part of the uh, overall planning because it just triggered curiosity, and you shared it. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much. Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.